But about 4 hours of AEW can do that to a man. Hey, this is J Cal. You are tuned into the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J Cal, and I'm coming to you on a Saturday. Although, really, when you're listening to this, it's whenever you listen to it. So I guess I'm coming to you live on whatever particular day it is. And I want to talk a little bit about last night's AEW event. Of course, this is an NWA powered podcast. And what I mean by that is we cover the National Wrestling Alliance. That's kind of where my bread and butter's at. It doesn't mean that I don't mind going out and venturing into other avenues. I've this year alone, man, wow. I've been to a lot more than NWA events, that's for sure. I've been a lot more than United Wrestling Network events, and I think I'm narrowing in on my my 35th event tonight. I have a list somewhere which I know is obnoxiously lame, but this is last night was my second AEW event. Of course, tonight's Full Gear pay-per-view will be my third. But while this was all happening last night, the NWA invaded Fight the World Wrestling. And there's not a lot of coverage about that. It's been brought to my attention that, there's not anybody's talking about this. So I'm going to talk about it. And we're going to also talk, like I said, about the Collision taping, the Dynamite taping, and of course the surprise Ronda Rousey visit to the event at the Kia Forum last night. So if you're into that, stay tuned, because we're going to have more right after this.
Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion. And I'm Kinsey Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called again? Podcast, period. Or you're ugly. Period. Pretty Power approved.
Last night, Fight the World Wrestling presented its Invasion event, a card that was supposed to be headlined by a Billy Corgan in-ring appearance. Now, I know what you're thinking. No. William Patrick Corgan did not wrestle last night. That would be silly. Although, if Nick Aldis was still around, that probably could have happened. But getting back to it, Fight the World Wrestling had an event last night. Of course, if you don't know, now you know. Fight the World Wrestling, a promotion that has spent time in New York, has kind of settled down there in Florida, is also the home wrestling promotion for Natalia Markova and Mikirio, or as he's more commonly known as Brian Idol, down there at FTW, as they are both trainers for the wrestling school that is attached to it. And a couple things to point out, that this isn't obviously the first time that the NWA has been in Florida. Not even the first time this year. They actually held more than a couple events there. The year started off with them doing some events out in Tampa that followed the Nuff Said pay-per-view. They had some appearances in Tampa, and later they would return as part of the World as a Vampire tour. And before that, even the Boca Raton versus the World show, they did that co-promotion with BRCW in Florida. And of course, they are returning to the Robarts the next day, which will be November the 18th. As a big live event that they're going to tape for distribution on Power. So this isn't the first time that the NWA has been in Florida, and the significance, it's not even the first time that they've partnered with a promotion this year. Of course, we know that the big live event was very much facilitated through the Joe Kazana Promotions. The World as a Vampire Tour in Mexico City was a direct partnership with AAA. The World as a Vampire Tour in Australia partnered with some local Aussie promotions to help facilitate those shows as well. So NWA co-promoting events with other wrestling promotions doesn't necessarily mean that these wrestling promotions are going to become territories. Now, the NWA did announce earlier, just right before the Samhain pay-per-view. In fact, it was the last Exodus Pro show, that they would be joining the Alliance. So they're the first territory in the new NWA territory system, Exodus Pro. Many believe that Joe Kazana Promotions might be next. And of course, their next event will be the very next day, December 2nd, after the December 3rd, excuse me, the very day after the next uh, Exodus Pro show. And so, I mean, that might be a big deal, but let's get back to Florida. Let's talk a little bit about this event, because this is one of those cases where, in my hometown in Southern California, my backyard, we have SoCal Uncensored, which even today, it's not as updated as frequently. And I got to be honest, I still love this site. I still have connections to the site, but it's not the reference it once was. And but it's a shame that there aren't more websites like SoCal Uncensored, where a devout fan base documents the history of the pro wrestling in that particular town or state. In Florida, there's so many different wrestling promotions, but a smaller promotion like Fight the World Wrestling, it doesn't have a lot of buzz. And you could search the web looking for results, you're not going to find them. And it's a shame, because there are promotions out there that could really benefit from people knowing about them. And FTW does have a YouTube channel, which I'm almost confident that this Invasion event will at some point be on their YouTube channel. There were people filming the event, so with any luck, it'll find its way onto YouTube at some point. But again, there's so very little information about the card from last night. It honestly, it wasn't until Tuesday in the afternoon that we found out that La Brava Escobar and Samantha Starr would be taking on Natalia Markova and Camille as part of that Invasion event. Now, that's a very NWA heavy card. Of course, La Brava Escobar has been intermittently used in the NWA. Natalia Markova most recently challenged for the women tag team titles with Taylor Rising. And then, Camille has kind of she's slowed down a little bit since losing the championship, but she's still very much a part of the brand. And of course, Samantha Starr will have her opportunity on the 18th to challenge Kenzie Page for the NWA Women's Championship. So that was a card that had a lot of NWA star power. The rest of this event is kind of a mixed bag. It's interesting, because we know that this event has been in the plans since like before October. And it's like there wasn't a whole lot of publicity that you could find for this event. I know locally, Billy Corgan went on a local television network out there. I think it was in Tampa with Brian Idol, aka Mikirio, and Markova to hype up the Robarts event. I'm not sure how much time they spent talking about Fight the World, but as part of Fight the World, there were a very heavy NWA influence on this card. One of the matches featured Daisy Kill taking on Mike Orlando from FTW. Another match was Hardcore Horvath. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was facing off against the former NWA two-time world champion Trevor Murdoch. And of course, another match on that card, which was featuring the FTW No Limits Championship, a title, specific to that promotion, featuring the recently appearing in NWA Alex Misery and Jake Cross, somebody we're not familiar with yet, challenging Salazar de la Muerte. He is the FTW No Limits champion. Now, if that name is familiar to you, there's a good reason, because he was featured heavily. Not heavily. Pump the brakes, Jake Howe. He wasn't featured heavily, but he had made a few appearances for the NWA. I think he had a match on a Power Surge episode, or maybe NWA USA, where him and Jeremiah Plunkett locked horns. You know, is this promotion the next one to be named a territory? Maybe. I got to be honest. I find it a little alarming that a wrestling promotion who has known about this event for so long did very little to promote this event. And like I said, the Alliance blog, didn't even know about the women's tag team match until Tuesday, which was just a few days ahead of the event. And then, of course, all these other matches I didn't even know happened or were going to happen. Now, the poster featured Aaron Stevens. It featured Trevor Murdoch, so one could assume that both of them would be on the card. It featured Tom Latimer. It featured Hardcore Horvat, and it featured Mercurio, Markova, Daisy Kills. But no word if Tom Latimer was there. I would venture to guess he was, but we hadn't seen anything, and there's been no news in regards to the announcement from what Billy Corgan said. Now, maybe there is something that the Alliance blog has just missed, that I've just missed, but as of right now, I haven't really seen a whole lot going on from this group. So, in my estimation, I don't think this is a company that could really carry its weight as part of an NWA territory. Now, of course, things could change, and God willing, they do. But as of right now, no place to find results. No full card was ever even advertised. Very difficult to find much information about the company. But that could all change, and hopefully it does for the better. But I did want to give it a little discussion. I did see that the card, Joe Galley posted a photo from the event, and it looked like it was well attended. Like I said, it looked like it was filmed. So stay tuned to FTW Wrestling for when they post those matches on their YouTube channel. We'll be sure to share it at alliance-wrestling.com. But, good luck to them. Of course, tonight is the return to Bobart. I keep saying Bobarts. It's the return to Robarts, and I think that this is going to be a big event for them. Of course, it's going to be taped for Power. And it's kind of funny with all this controversy, especially from our friend. I shouldn't even say that. I shouldn't joke around about that. Some of you guys might take me serious. With all the controversy stemming from one, quote unquote journalist who's been has a bullseye on Billy and attempting to bury everything the NWA has done in recent weeks. I just feel like some positive news and some positive progression will be great for the NWA. And of course, the big 2 title matches, Jack Stane challenging for the 10 pounds of gold, maybe giving EC3 his biggest threat to date. And of course, Kenzie Page taking on Samantha Starr, defending her Burke in what could be a really good match. I'm excited to see both the results, and hopefully those will be on Power very, very soon. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about last night's AEW Collision and Rampage and everything leading up to tonight's Full Gear. All right. Times are tough now, guys, and it's no joke out here. That's why I'm very proud to be partnering with the Upside app. They're leveling the playing field, guys. They're giving you opportunities to earn cash back on purchases for groceries, purchases for gasoline, purchases for food. These are the things we all spend our money on all the time. I believe in Upside. I use Upside weekly. My lifetime earnings is over $408, and you too can be earning cash back on your fill-ups, your groceries, or your eating out experiences just by signing up, and it's free. By using my invite code JASON75338, that's Jason 753338, you'll earn $5 cash back on your first fill-up. Use the link in the video description or download the app But make sure you use that invite code JASON753338 and make money by using the Upside app. So last night, I spent the evening with the elite. Yes, yes, at the Kia Forum in Inglewood, California, the city of champions, if you will. Yes, the Kia Forum, formerly the home of your Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, I guess they're not yours, but they might be mine. Uh, and it was a kind of a fun night. I can't lie, guys. I know a lot of you are not pro AEW guys, and that's totally cool, man. Got no beef with you. Uh, the event itself was it was a long night. Not as long as the last taping that they did in Ontario, California, but nevertheless, it was a good night for wrestling, and I was impressed by quite a bit. There was a few things that I was not a big fan of, as it were. There was two dark matches, one featuring Triple A's Jack Cartwheel, the other featuring Powerhouse Hobbs. Both of them were fun for different reasons. I got to see Miro. I haven't seen Miro wrestling in probably about 8 years. I got to see. This was my second AEW event. I was at the Double or Nothing show back in April in Las Vegas. So this was my second AEW event. Got to see title defense. The whole the whole night. Okay, full disclosure, you guys know I'm a Southern California based podcaster, and one of my favorite wrestlers is Samoa Joe. In fact, Samoa Joe, top of the cards, that's my guy, my ride or die. I love watching Samoa Joe wrestle. So, of course, I was looking forward to seeing him in action last night. And one of my other favorites is Scorpio Sky. Again, both these guys are SoCal guys. No sign of Scorpio Sky whatsoever. I was so disappointed. And I don't know what's the status with Scorpio Sky. I don't know if he's just sitting at home collecting a paycheck, or if he's injured, or if he's been released and nobody knows about it. But uh, man, for a guy who I know Scorpio Sky loves LA. I know Scorpio Sky uh, lives and dies with the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm so disappointed that he didn't have an opportunity to wrestle at the Forum. It was kind of a bummer, but yeah, the whole time I'm watching this event, I kept thinking, like, man, I've seen that guy in the United Wrestling Network, or I've seen that guy in the NWA. Some of you guys don't remember that Powerhouse Hobbs is a former United Wrestling Network World Tag Team Champion. Uh, Jack Cartwheel spent some time in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood before he made his debut with AAA. And of course, he's challenged for the NWA World Junior title, has been at a couple NWA pay per views, actually challenged for the Junior Heavyweight title twice. And then of course, with so much lucha libre infusion in the AEW, it's another cool thing to see some of the luchadors that I've recently been watching when I go to Tijuana, when I go to Mexico to watch uh, lucha libre. So it's been a lot of fun, and so just to even start the show, I mean, Miro versus Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia is currently the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla world champion now. Of course, PWG has been on hiatus. The owner of PWG, Super Dragon, has had some struggles with his fiance, who's been sick, and um, just to be serious for a moment, we wish everyone at PWG our condolences, and hope everything comes out for the best. But yeah, so Daniel Garcia is the PWG World Champion, and he was facing off against Miro, another SoCal guy. And a lot of people don't know that Miro was trained by uh, Rikishi, and Rikishi School is actually based in Southern California, Knox Pro. So that was kind of cool to see him in action. Uh, and Daniel Garcia, man, that guy takes a beating and keeps on ticking. And it was a very fun match. It went well over 10 minutes, and I thought it would be over much, much quicker, but a fun match. Good to see Miro out there in the ring. Um, the Kings of the Black Throne, Brody King, Malachi Black. Those guys also are a product of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and not that Malachi Black is from PWG, but I think that's when they first became a tag team as the House of Black, and they took on the boys. We know them in the NWA as the Tate Twins, but they, I kind of acknowledged when I saw them. I was like, hey, those guys were at the Crockett Cup in 2018 2019. They were at that Crockett Cup, and they were at the one in 2022. So it was kind of cool to see those guys again. And that was a match that was essentially a squash. It was over in 2 minutes, as it should be, by the way. The Kings of the Black Throne are pretty freaking good. If you like that sort of thing. The next match was a number one contendership for the AEW TNT title. Trent Beretta squaring off against Commander, who is the AAA Cruiserweight Champion. Penta el Zero Miedo, which means zero cares, essentially. And Brian Cage with Prince Nana. Brian Cage still part of the ROH six-man champions. Brian Cage is a freaking beast, man. And I kind of feel like Brian Cage, had he stayed with working in Lucha Libre, I think he would be a bigger star today than he is now. He's one of these guys that I don't understand why he isn't a bigger deal than he is. But this match was all over the place. Of course, when you have a guy like the Commander and Penta El Zero Miedo, I imagine that, if you're a Lucha Libre fan, you're going to enjoy this matchup. Trent Beretta, the last time I got to see Trent Beretta, he was actually challenging AJ Styles for the IWGP World Championship. I guess back then it was just the IWGP Heavyweight title, and that was a Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. See, it all comes back to that. The next match was, again, another just squash. I saw Wardlow. The last time I saw Wardlow was at the Double or Nothing event. I know he's been kind of used intermittently in AEW. So it was, he's another guy that I think, man, how could he not be a star already? There's a lot of guys who I feel like AEW just, what are you doing, man? Like, figure it out, because Wardlow, I mean, he was one of the biggest stars for the company, and then disappeared. And I know he took some time off. His father was sick, and I think his father actually passed away. So I don't want to put too much on him for that, but I just feel like that's another guy that they should have figured out a better way to use him. And then he beat Evan Daniels, another Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Championship Wrestling from Arizona guy, by a referee's decision. Didn't even last a minute. Basically, one power bomb too many, and that was the end of it. Dax Harwood took on Roosh, and they are from the stable. I'm not going to pronounce it correctly. I know it. I'm not. I'm going to try. It's Ingorla. Easy for me to say. Ingor. I'm going to try one more time, and then I swear I'm just going to give up. They are part of the group of La Facción Ingobernable, which basically means like the unmanageable faction, which is perfect because they are like a rogue group, and this is a faction that has ties to Mexico. And of course, this group is consisting of Dralistico, who was one of the original Mysticos and the brother of WWE's Dragon Lee, Preston Vance, and again, Jose the assistant. That always cracks me up. So this matchup was started off great, a very hard hitting, super exciting, man. I was very impressed by Dax Harwood. I know he's a good wrestler. I know he is. But this match was just way better than I would have expected. Roosh really put in the work. Harwood put in the work. And then it fell apart. the first of all, these two are part of a tag team. Essentially, there's going to be a tag team at Full Gear, where former NWA TV champion Mister Ricky. This just handed to me. Ricky, why my brain is going to crap right now. Ricky Starks, there it is. I knew I'd get there. And Big Bill, Ricky Starks and Big Bill, who are your AEW Tag Team Champions, will be in a ladder match tomorrow night or tonight, I guess, at Full Gear, and they'll be taking on uh, FTR, the faction, and things just got out of hand, and this match kind of fell apart, and all parties came out, and it was just a war, and it kind of set up for tonight's pay per view. So that was a lot of fun. And then Buddy Matthews of the House of Black, he came out, and he's connected to Rhea Ripley. He's Mr. Rhea Ripley to you, sir. He took on Wheeler Yuta. Not a fan of Wheeler Yuta at all. I don't know what it is I don't like about him. Oh yeah, I do. It's a size. And after Buddy Matthews and Wheeler Yuta wrestled for about 13 minutes, it looked like Buddy Matthews was out to like further injure Yuta, and Claudio came out to make the save. It was good to see Claudio back. And then in the main event of this tag team match, or of the collision, you had Hikaru, I can't say her name, Shida. We'll just say Shida, the AEW Women's Champion, and Statlander taking on the outcasts of Ruby Soho and Saraya. And this was it was a pretty good match back and forth. At some point, and I'm sure TV mentioned it, I believe it was Ruby Soho's husband, hopped over the railing to check on Ruby during the course of the match, which caused a distraction. And I believe Shida basically drop kicked him through the ring, and then like that just kind of set up a 2-on-1 against Saraya, which Saraya didn't survive. That was the end of the collision. I thought that was a great show. It was fun. It was a lot of good action. I had never watched a collision episode before, so it was fun to watch what they do there. And then of course they in between shows they literally pulled off the aprons and the canvas to reveal the other show underneath. It was very well done and very quick in terms of the change around from going from a collision to Rampage. And Rampage started off with a title defense where Christian Cage defended that AEW TNT title against Trent Beretta. Now, Christian Cage is a former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, so I always mark out when I see him. And, he has had such a renaissance in AEW. And for all the shit talking we do about AEW not knowing how to use certain talents, Christian Cage is not one of them. In fact, I think he is in the prime of his character. I'm not going to say he's in the prime of his wrestling, but as a character, he's pretty great. Of course, he was flanked by Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne, and although the match was very good, back and forth with Trent and Christian, Cage walked away as champion. We also had the other match was Toni Storm taking on Emi Sakura, and Toni Storm, like, she's got it. I'm not sure what it is, but she has it in spades, and just a phenomenal competitor. I think Toni Storm is going to be your next AEW Women's Champion, 2-time. I think she's going to take the belt off Shida tonight at Full Gear. In fact, that's my prediction. You can put it on the board. The other match, the main event, I guess you will, if you will, for TNT's Dynamite, was Roderick Strong with Matt Taven and Mike Bennett taking on Action Andretti. Now, it was mostly a fun match until right before the end. There was a really scary moment where Roderick Strong was on the receiving end of a Spanish fly. At least that's what I think it was, and it went awry. It almost looked like the dude broke his neck. and that's scary because that's kind of what they've been playing around with him wearing a neck brace and all that stuff. And the match stopped, which I think was for the best. The referee, paused the match. Uh, what I can only assume is a medical professional slid into the ring, checked on Strong, and after like what was probably about a 30 seconds to a minute felt like a lifetime. They checked on Strong. He was okay. He was okay. They finished the match, and props to him for doing that. But I'm still concerned about his health for sure. And then that was the end of Rampage, which brought us to the surprise main event of the evening, and that was a rematch from Pro Wrestling Revolver's match the night before. You guys haven't heard already. It was the ROH Women's Champion Athena and her tag team partner, the Minion Billy Starks, against Marina Shafir and former WWE Women's Champion, two-time Women's Champion Ronda Rousey. Now, the first thing is Ronda Rousey. A lot of people were expecting. I keep saying a lot of people. There were some speculating that Ronda Rousey was going to be the big surprise that Tony's going to announce at Full Gear as the new wrestler signed to work with AEW. But I don't think that was this. I think this might have just been a one-off. I don't think we're going to see Ronda Rousey as a regular on the AEW roster. Hell, this was a Ring of Honor match. And Rousey, I'll say this, man, she had a smile on her face the entire time. She looked like she was enjoying herself, and that's something that I didn't see her have very much of while she was in her second run with the WWE. And of course, it helps that her and Marina are close. It helps that her and Athena had done a lot of work together prior to her return to the WWE. So, it was a fun match. It was a great surprise. I kind of thought Thunder Rosa was going to be leaving the broadcast studio, broadcast area, and join the wrestling match uh, prior to Ronda Rousey making her entrance. And you should expect it by now from Tony, but they used they used her theme music that she had in the WWE too, so it was kind of fitting. And it wasn't a great match. There was a few miscues, a few missed spots, a few botches, if you will. Not all of them from Ronda Rousey. It seemed like there was a few mistakes made by more than just her during the match. But overall, I kind of was happy to see it. I think a growing independent market for pro wrestling is better than perhaps maybe another national promotion. I know as NWA fans, we want to see the NWA thrive and be competition for AEW and WWE and even Impact. But I feel like if there is an independent, dare I say, territory where places where people can work, people like Mance Warner, people like Matt Cardona, people like, for crying out loud, Ronda Rousey. And I feel like that could be very beneficial to some of the smaller wrestling promotions in helping develop these areas and grow wrestling in places that, are underserved. But all in all, had a good time at AEW. I will be there again tonight as part of the Full Gear pay-per-view. In fact, I'm starting to get ready right now. As soon as this podcast is over, I'll be heading down to the Kia Forum to yet again witness the elite of the wrestling world touchdown in the Forum. The other side part that I didn't talk about, I skipped over it before the Ring of Honor title match. Yes, they all sang "Happy Birthday" to Shibata, but more so than that, Maxwell Jacob Friedman basically called out, not called out, but on video sought out Jay White and Switchblade, and they got into it, which called out the Bullet Club Gold to attack MJF on camera in the ring. And to his rescue was Samoa Joe. So I did get to see Samoa Joe. And the speculation is now that Samoa Joe will be at Full Gear teaming with MJF in that ROH tag team title match. MJF takes on the Bullet Club Gold for that. So overall, good show. Again, AEW isn't my bag. It's not what it's not my preference, but I had a good time, and I look forward to tonight. So thanks to everyone for listening, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Alliance Blog Podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, the premier source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Would you consider subscribing so you never miss a new episode? You can follow us on all social media at the Alliance Blog, and we stream live on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern at the Alliance Blog. Until then, we are the Alliance.